What would you actually want for your business, your summer, your family, your whole life if nobody else was watching? If you didn't feel like you had to keep up with a single other entrepreneur, or mom for that matter, to feel like you were doing enough? And what if you could actually both enjoy the summer or any season with your family and still make progress in your business? My clients and I are living proof that this is possible, and today I'm going to walk you through in real time the exact process I use to get clear on what you actually want from your business and your personal life. Look at the data in front of you around both and use all of that to map out an aligned momentum plan for your next season. Grab a yummy drink and join me as I plan out the next season in my life, summer break. You can do this right along with me or come back to it later. Let's get to it. Hello and welcome to the Both and Motherhood podcast. Today, I'm going to be walking you through my Rooted and Thriving Momentum Map process because I'm going to be doing it today. I'm going to be refreshing it for summer. I went over this last episode 31, and I reviewed my spring, winter, last momentum map that I did, which was from Christmas time through spring break, essentially. And as I promised, I would walk you through the next one I went through here. Surprise, surprise, maybe not. I don't know. Real mom life. It is now June 3rd, and it is now when I'm sitting down to make another plan for a variety of reasons. Life happens, right? Sick things in our family. April is birthday month. Both my boys have birthdays in April, and then it's the end of the school year and all that jazz. So I can blame it on ADHD, can blame it on whatever. Last day of school for us is Friday for one kid and Monday for the other, and I am doing my official planning now. Better late than never, right? So anyway, if you took a listen to last episode, I talked about my Rooted and Thriving Momentum Map process. And since I recorded that episode, I was thinking about it, and I had been selling the process. I had been selling it in a masterclass and all of the things with the prompts in things to think about in a Google Doc. And I thought, you know what? I just need to make this a free thing and make it more digestible and easier for people to use, because this is so impactful and I need to get this in more hands. So I've spent a lot of time over the last 2 months since my last episode released, and I have got this all ready for you guys for free and in a PDF form that is just gorgeous. One of my recent clients is just amazing at Canva, and it was so beautiful to get to hire her to do this for me as well, so we could support each other. But she made it gorgeous, way prettier than I could have made it. And so it is now free. You do not have to watch a masterclass. It is all out there for you in a beautiful PDF that is fillable, so you can fill it out on your computer or your tablet. And it's also gorgeous and made to optimize to print out. So I've chosen to print it out for today, so you don't have to hear me clack, clack, clack and type on the computer. But sometimes I type it. So you could do either. And if you'd like to do this with me here too, go ahead and hop in the show notes and click on the link. I've made a super easy short link for you. It's bothandmotherhood.com, all one word, /momentum. And you can download the PDF for free. And then you can work on this alongside me. You can work on this afterwards. Totally up to you. But if you're curious about what this is and how it works and all the things, get ready with me. We're going to plan the summer together. So first, I want to start with saying that the reason that I've created this process is that everybody's life is different. Your family is different than my family, which is different than one of my clients' family, which is different from my friend's family and other clients' family. And hell, in my own family, it's every season is different. If you've been parenting for any length of time, and I've got clients who have been infants, you already know this, right? Even if you only have one kid, once you feel like you've got it down pat and you've got everything figured out, they grow and evolve and change because that's what kids do. And then guess what? Your perfectly planned schedule or routine or anything, it doesn't work anymore. And you've got to shift and evolve as well. So this is just life. And if you've got more than one kid, that just is more potential evolutions. I've got 2 children. If you're new here, I am a solo mother with 2 tween boys, a 10 and a 12-year-old. And they're alike in some ways, but they're very different in a lot of different ways. So trying to figure out what works best for the whole family can be really challenging, and it feels like it changes regularly. And even though my next season is summer vacation, it's going to be for the next 3 months because we actually go until after Labor Day this year. It's strange. Usually we start the week before Labor Day. But needless to say, I'm going to be speaking to that because that is my next season where my family situation is going to be fairly the same, so that this will make sense. But this process works regardless if you have kids that are not in school yet, if you have kids that aren't like school age, but maybe you're homeschooling them. The beauty of this is that there's no Q1, Q2, Q3, or even if I were to say summer vacation from public school, that's different depending on where you are in the country. I know I have clients whose kids are already off school. I have clients whose kids are not getting off until the end of June. And then some people start back in like early August. We don't start till early September. So this is why it's going to be completely customizable for you. So if you'd like to download yours while we get started, go ahead and just pause this episode, go download that, take a look at it, come back. If you would like to just listen along and get a clue of like what it is and then download it later, that's totally fine. Join me. Okay. So this whole process is something I developed that is centered around my Rooted and Thriving framework. And we always start with regulating. So that just means like bringing ourselves to the present. I just like to take a couple big breaths. If you feel like your brain's going a million miles a minute, maybe you stand up for a minute, maybe you shake your body. That can be really powerful. Maybe you light a candle or turn on a diffuser. Anything that will just kind of bring you back to the present moment will help. So take a few deep breaths. There is no right or wrong way to do this. You cannot mess this up. Okay. Regulating does not need to take very long. It can just take a few seconds. You can come back to the regulate step anytime you feel yourself getting dysregulated, which means like you're noticing your brain is going a million miles an hour. It's like you're distracted. All of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I really should be doing this other thing. Or you're feeling like you're panicking, or your energy is like kind of all up in your head and not in your body. And I just invite you, if you notice that, to just come back to some breathing. This process also can be done in one setting. It can also be done in chunks if that is what your capacity allows at this season of your life. If you've got babies, if you've got little kids, if your kids are already home for the summer, if you're listening to this later and, maybe you start and then your kids need something, they need a snack or something, and they need to go to the bathroom and they need help. You can put this down and you can come back and pick it up later. You can pause the podcast and come back to this anytime. This is completely customized to your real life. It's all welcome. Okay. Before we plan, we reflect on the last season and what has come before. And also, actually, the very first thing before we reflect on what happened before is reflecting on what we want. Because really, to make an aligned plan, momentum map for your business, and aligned meaning like that actually is going to feel good to you and give you the life that you want, the reason that you are in this work is to focus on, I was saying this to a client on a call the other day. If you put blinders on and nobody else but the people in your household, so you, your kid or kids, partner if you have one, could see. If you didn't have to compete with anybody else, if you didn't have to worry about what people on social media might think, or if your mom even, or your neighbor or your sister or whatever, and you didn't have to worry if anybody was going to judge you, because nobody outside of you and your immediate family, like your little family unit, could see. What does that look like? Let's look at it from that lens. So for me, I've got me and my 2 kids. So I might say, okay, I'm going to look on like, what do I want my whole life inside and outside my business to look and especially feel like, right? And the only people that will know what is going on in my life is me and my kids. For the client I was speaking to, it was her husband, and her kid, her baby. And I actually look at this big picture vision every time I revisit the momentum map, because it's often the same, but as human beings, we evolve just like our kids do. And when it comes to our business plan, our financial plan, our life plan, like it is just unreasonable to expect it to stay the same. It's like asking when they asked us in growing up, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or even when you graduate high school, expecting us to, like, very few of us, well, actually, I'm guessing if you're here that probably none of you, like me, said we were going to be where we're at now when we were 18 years old. But even those of you in a traditional job still, many of us, like, there's no way we could know at 40 or 60 what we wanted, what our life was going to be like at 18. God, I definitely did not know at 18 I was going to have, I figured I'd have kids, but I did not know I'd have had 2 marriages and divorces at this point, let alone be living the life I am and doing the work I am and working from, like, what? Like, no way. So the invitation, even if you've done this before, even if you've thought before about what you want your life and business to look and feel like, I invite you to do it again. So I'm going to do mine here. And so that you don't have to listen to me just write in silence, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward from here I'm going to pause the recording, do my part, and come back and talk about moving on to the next part. You can just keep listening if you'd like. If you are doing this along with me, you feel free to pause the episode and do this first page. This is page 4 in the PDF, the reflect page on looking at the big picture vision, so that we can focus your momentum up on a life that you actually want. I want to specify that this page, this piece, is the only one that specifically is looking at the big picture overall and not specifically only like this season, what you want this season to look and feel like. Although that is important too. If there's something specific, like for example, if it's for this summer, if there's something that you want to reflect on here, feel free to put it down. Otherwise, this is like big picture and goal vision. Some people might say this as, if you were 80 years old and you look back at your life, like, what would be the important things? Like, what are the things that would have mattered? That's another way to look at it. Okay, go. Okay. So I did my reflecting. I would say it's often very similar. Themes for me, I'll just share vulnerably with you here. Themes for me that came up is I'm at a phase of rebuilding my life and business after my divorce. And I always say that's when my whole life imploded and my financial life and all of the things. And I've done a hell of a lot of work to get here over the last 3 years, really longer. I've been divorced for 3 years, but I'm at this phase now where I am no longer needing to be in survival mode and I get to thrive, which is what I've been working so hard for. And coming out of the emotionally abusive situation that I was in, actually, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. There's been a lot of work to put into this in rebuilding my confidence, and it is more complicated than that. But just like, it's a combination probably of that and being a recovering people pleaser and rescuer and somebody from the healing professions. If you're new here and don't know me, I used to be a physician assistant before my kids were little, before I started my first business. So taking up a lot of space is something that is a lot easier for me to help other people do than do myself. And so this is a season where it is time for me to do that. And so I want to do that with confidence. And the word I like to use is intrinsic safety. There are also some like financial things that came up around like the stability that I'm continuing to create for myself and my kids, the continued deepened relationship between my kids and I, and then just really continuing to set up my kids emotionally, mentally, relationally. To me, those are much more important than financially in my life, to set them up for a healthy and thriving adult life. So that's kind of my picture. So next up, I'm moving on to page 5 if you're here with me. Okay, we're going to reflect on the non-business data of this next season that'll impact capacity, because your capacity is different depending on your unique family, the unique needs of you and your relationships, whether that be platonic or romantic, your kids, extended family, business, all the things. So I'm going to pause again and just kind of work through these here and look ahead for me. If you want the specific prompts that I'm going through, go ahead and drop down to the show notes and download a copy for yourself. I'm on page 5. I will be back after we do this and we'll move on. All right, go. So I had actually forgotten when I was explaining the big picture page and saying if it's going to be summer vacation, if you want to think about how that feels, you want that to look and feel, you can put that here. But I actually forgot. I specifically had a question about this on page 5. So if it's pertaining to a vacation or a holiday, I think that's important if you're looking at school age kids. If there's going to be breaks because of vacations or holidays or school breaks or whatever, like you get to pick. How do you want those to look and feel? What balance do you want? And it's going to be different for everybody. It depends on your business and the type of work that you do. It depends on some of the other pieces we're going to look at here and the money pieces and what you actually need for your family. It depends on what role your business plays in your life. So let me just give you a little overview of like what I came up with here. For me, let's just share some examples. So for me, I'm looking again at summer break. For us, that's basically June, July, and August. And what I'm looking at here is that I've got 2 kids that are 10 and 12 with different personalities. All 3 of us have ADHD and it presents differently. My kids are still at a phase where getting them to just be and do things independently for long periods of time is not something that is consistent yet. Like sometimes they can. Sometimes I can be like, mom's going to work for a couple hours and they can play an imaginary game or play chess or something for a couple of hours and not fight and it'd be fine. Other days we can go 5 minutes and there's a fight or they're bored and they need some, just some checking in. There's a variety of reasons for that. But so I know this about my kids. And I also know my own wounding from my own childhood. And so I tend to be a little too soft, probably, in like, I have an open door policy. Like, I'll close my door sometimes if I need to, but I'll be like, hey, if you really need me, come in. I am personally, because of my own wounding and my own just motherhood philosophy, not of the opinion as a mother working from home of if mom's door is closed or mom's working, you better fucking be bleeding if you're going to come interrupt me. Like I've read books with people preaching that, heard podcasts, seen people online talk about it. That is fine. If that is for you, that is not for me. So for me, I know in my family, I have my kids here with me full time from Saturday night to Thursday night every week. And they're with their dad from Thursday night to Saturday night. So I know for me, I can get a lot more focused work done, especially creative work, on those 2 days when I don't have the kids. I have a really great episode 3 about this, about comparisonitis as a mom, that I was like blown away when I had my very first night where the kids were with their dad after a divorce, like how much more capacity I had starting the day without any mental load of being a mother, and getting everybody up and managing, getting everybody ready and having breakfast and doing all the things and managing fights and all the things. So all that to say, I have had many years as an entrepreneur where I was married and I had my kids full time every day. And even after the divorce, before we had got our parenting time situation down, where I had them 24 hours a day, right? So just if you are in a phase where you have your children 24 hours a day, every day, yours is going to look like different than mine. And mine's going to look different than my friend who has her kids for a week on, and then she is kid free for a week when her kids are with their dad or whatever. Here's mine. So I like to do the majority of my work and things in my personal life, building relationships, going out with new friends. I think this summer, I'm actually really going to start dating. That'll be during those times when I don't have my kids. My client calls, all of that is done on Fridays and Saturdays because that is when my capacity is the biggest. And then during the week, I thought about this. I have been a mom and entrepreneur now for 8 years. We've been through several different seasons because they were 2 and 4 when I started my first business. And they were home with me all the time, but they were toddlers too. So they needed different things. And I've been through seasons where I needed to work every single day. And maybe where I could only get an hour of work on days when they were home. But I chose and needed to knew what was best for us was to do an hour of work most days and a little bit more work when I could, then try and force longer work days and then have days off or whatever. of work. But right now, because I have these 2 solid days, and this is new actually, just since a month, it's only been a month. Well, where it's been these days. And it's going really, really well. I've been finding, because my kids' dad and I parent differently, and their experience with their dad on the weekend is different than their experience here. So I've been finding that Sundays when they come home, that's the first day full time with me, it's been best to just chill, but also be getting back into some structure. So loosen structure, but really just being boring and grounding and being home to get them kind of back into the vibe that I have at my house. Worked really hard to have at my house. And so this summer, I have been for the last couple of weeks, like taking Sundays completely off, not looking at work, unless sometimes I want to check in with Telegram with my clients. And because my kids sometimes, like I said, sometimes they're playing chess and for hours, or an imaginary game, or sometimes they can play video games together and not get dysregulated. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to do what I want to do. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I check in with my clients because I freaking love them. And, but otherwise, no other work on Sundays. And so I can really just focus on co-regulating with my kids and being present with them. And that's been working really well. So I'm going to keep that up. But for the summer, I'm actually going to extend that to Mondays as well. So I'm going to play with it at least. I'm going to plan for Sunday and Monday to be my quote unquote weekend, because this is like when we were in a homeschooling phase. I homeschooled the kids and we traveled full time in an RV. It actually happened to be during the pandemic. That wasn't why we did it, but that's another story. Feel free to send me a message and ask me if you have questions, or I can do another episode about it later. But in summer, all the days kind of blend together. So the beauty of that is that we get to pick what's our weekend versus our working days. And so I'm going to actually take Mondays off of work. Again, probably just like checking in with my clients on Telegram because I love doing it. And like when the kids are occupied, but it's not going to be a structured thing. And I'm not going to put pressure on it, because my youngest son this spring has expressed some desire for us to go get out of the house and like travel a little bit. A lot of his peers here, we happen to live in a pretty affluent area. This phase of my life, I am not in that demographic. I have been in the past, getting back there. And also, sharing vulnerably here, I worked really hard over the last few years to get really a lot of like peace and grounded stability in my house. And that looks boring sometimes to other people. But we've built a good solid base now. And I would love to take my kids to the beach for a day or two. My kids don't even remember being in a hotel. It's been so many, they were so little, and on top of the pandemic and everything. And so I thought, well, if I have Sundays and Mondays off where I'm not working, then those can be days when we can go to the beach or go do longer outings together, or maybe Sundays we're still chilling, and then Mondays like a long play date, because my kids are at the age where they're starting to get more social, and that's great. I don't know about you, how old are your kids, but for me, I love it. And it's like 3 social lives that I'm trying to manage right now. But making time for that. And the reason that I am working this for my family, again, this is just my example. So you can kind of see how this, this is not going to be the same for your family, but sharing what one example might look like. I know that my kids and myself, but especially my kids, thrive on knowing what to expect. Even when they will often want to ask for extra screen time or whatever. And so I've just learned that what works best for my family is to have a fairly predictable schedule, essentially, or at least like rough routine. And I know that certain screens in my family, I need to actually be there to co-regulate with them. So I can't do some work during that. Other screens, they are happy to just be up there, and I don't feel the need to co-regulate. So I could be down at my office working or on a call or whatever. And so I'm still working out the details, and I'm actually going to work this through with my kids this weekend. We're going to sit down and talk about, because they're old enough now that we have like family meetings and we come down together and like plan, we try something out, and then we're going to see how it goes after 2 weeks and we check in. teaching them the skills of time management, also negotiation and communication and all of these things. Also giving them a sense of ownership, in their days. And so Tuesday through Thursday, I think I could get 3 hours of work done in a fairly routine way where I can plan. I'm thinking for my family, I'm probably going to have 2 of those hours. There'll probably be 3 different hour chunks because that just works best with my family. With my kids, when they're needing to be by themselves, is taking a break. So I'm going to probably do 2 hours of those where they're on screens of some sort if they want to. We're calling it choice time now. So they can choose certain screens, or they can choose to read, or they can choose to play chess, or they can choose to do whatever. I mean, not literally whatever, but we'll come up with the options. And then an hour where I'm going to actually challenge them this summer to do something off screens, alone or together, and mom can do an hour of work. I'm not going to plan super heavy focus work during that time because I think this is going to be something that my kids are going to have to grow into and get used to. So that's my thought. That's how that way we can have our routine and we can kind of plan for what's going to happen. And then we have still plenty of time to hang out together. My kids love to bake and love to cook. My son and I are getting into gardening. We can work in the garden. Well, it's not really a garden. It's like containers on our patio, but we have strawberries and I'm so excited about these. Maybe we can go to the zoo or we can go for a hike or whatever. I'm also going to be, I didn't write this down. I have recently started, literally this week, a routine where I'm doing yoga once a day because I need to start prioritizing my health. I'm 43 now and I've not been doing that. And a walk. So I'm going to make in the schedule for myself and my kids a time once a day where we get outside and walk for some time, at least 20 minutes maybe. So I put that in there too. Okay. So I will always coach my clients and this is how I practice things myself, to work backwards when we're planning something for our business. So it never works in my experience to say, I have to have this many hours of work a day. And that can be hard too, depending on the work that you're doing. At this phase, a good amount of the hours of work that I'm going to need to work is on marketing and getting more visible and getting stuff out there. And that's different than when I was in my podcast business and it was like, okay, I had client work that I had to do. But even if you just say, I have to work this much hours, I have to sit in front of my computer for this many hours and then try and work your family around that, that doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. So looking at what your actual capacity is, and this is why I do this seasonally, what's your actual capacity? If your baby is 9 months old and you can no longer put her down and just, she can no longer sit there in a bouncer or on the floor or whatever. And she's no longer sleeping several hours a day. And now as soon as you put her on the floor, she's off and you have to keep an eye on everything she puts near her mouth. And, the nap schedules, your capacity is going to be different than it was 3 months ago or even in 3 months. If your kids are neurodivergent like mine are, they might need more focused attention, especially if you are the only adult in your household like I am, or if you have a partner who is out of the house a lot, who works a lot, or I've got a client whose partner works night shift. And so whatever your capacity is, when you look at what your actual capacity is, when you're building it around how you want to feel in your days, how you want your life to feel, how you want your parenting to feel, this is especially important because if you're here, my guess is that you are also a cycle breaking mom. You've probably got your own therapy, and parenting takes a lot of conscious effort because we're parenting in ways that are different than the way we were parented. It's different than the way we're learning this as we go, right? If you are also a cycle breaking mom, you might be going through some of the same stuff I am, where maybe you are a little quote unquote soft compared to some other people because you want to parent differently than you were parented. All that to say, then you look at, okay, this is what my capacity is for including my non-negotiable things. And okay, we're going to get more specific about refining the plan, but it's just thinking about, actually, I kind of got a little ahead of myself here. I kind of thought about how I wanted the days to look like with hours. You don't need to do that here yet. I just am as I'm talking through it, I think I got a little ahead of myself. Because I've done this process lots of times and you can take what you like and make it your own. So I kind of maybe combined a couple of steps here. So if you're clear on what your capacity is, Like if you're looking at summer, for example, and you're like, okay, I know that we're going to travel a lot, or I know that maybe you say we're going to go on these vacations during these weeks, or these weeks I've got a client who's got a kid who's graduating. We've got a graduation party and, like big things. So she's going to probably want to say, you know what, I'm not going to be working much that week because there's a lot going on there. And then I've had clients who travel a majority of the summer, and so they build their business differently. If you know what capacity you have, then we can work to plan your business around that and make sure that it is hitting your financial goals as well. And we're going to get to the financial piece right now. So next page, in page 6, if you're following along in the Momentum Map PDF, is we're going to reflect around the data around money. Okay. So this is an important part here because, again, to make an aligned momentum map or plan for any season of your business, again, I find that it works best to work backwards. So we look at what our capacity is. That matters the most. You can't change that. You can try and force it, but it ain't going to feel good. What our capacity is. And then we look at what our needs are, right? What do you need your business to be paying you? And how much is it paying you now, right? If we don't know where we're going and we don't know where we're at, we can't know how far we have to go. We can't know when we get there. We can't feel peace when we actually are doing enough and we can actually relax. This is something that the vast majority, probably all of the women that have come to work with me, at least at the beginning of our work, struggle with is taking rest time, taking downtime for a variety of reasons. Part of it is money. Part of it is like this story that we're never making enough money, that maybe this isn't enough to count. Part of it has to do with societal things and feeling lazy and a lot of other things. But when I start to see my clients see the data in front of them and know, oh, I've got more than enough. Like I'm doing okay. I can take this time off. I can slow down this summer. I can take this time off for a couple of days to focus on something else going on in my life. It is just music to my ears and I love it. So this part, I actually did this yesterday. It had been a minute since I updated my CEO Cash Clarity Companion, which is my system. It's a spreadsheet template that is a system that combines the bookkeeping essentially of an income and expenses from your business and current and expected revenue, like to the client and like what payments are coming in and when. That also helps manage and like avoid missing payments and like leaking money in your business. And also like how much money you actually need your business to pay you for the life that you want, because that is different for everybody. This is why things about $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $100,000 lunch is just complete fucking bullshit. Because that's just flash. That's just bragging rights. But, and if that's all that somebody cares about, then more power to them. But if you're here in my world, my guess is that your priority is presence and peace and stability and safety and how you're feeling and showing up for your kids and showing up for yourself and your relationships and being fulfilled in your personal life and your business. And so bringing all those pieces together and having the clarity, not only on what your business is doing and what to expect, but how it is funding your life is key, I have found. And so, like I said, I did this yesterday, so I'm not going to pause very long here. I'm just going to go pull some numbers from my CEO Cash Clarity Companion so that I can look at this here. But this is a great time to talk about. Also, since the last time I recorded an episode, previously, I had shared the template for my CEO Cash Clarity Companion with the Momentum Map in the masterclass format and sold it. And since then, I completely disbanded that and I separated it because some of you only need part of it and some of you need both or want both. So the Momentum Map is a free PDF download. That's what we're working through. At this point, it'll invite you to look at your finances, both your personal and your business finances. And you don't have to use my system. You can use your own. You can use your own if you've got a spreadsheet that you use. If you're using QuickBooks, there are things that each of those are missing. But if you have a system that feels like it's working, I am all for the the vibe of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it feels good and it's meeting the needs that you have, you can use yours and keep going. Basically, what you just need is you need to know from your own personal stuff how much you actually need to pay yourself. And this is different depending on if you've got another job or another income stream, if you have a partner that is paying part of the bills versus if you are responsible for all the bills, whether you're partnered or not. And then you need to know, at least for the next season, what to expect in your business, not just revenue, which is how much you charge and your clients pay you before credit card fees and all that stuff, but like actually how much is left to pay yourself at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month, ideally, right? You pay yourself first. There's different ways to do that. Let's just say after all the money you receive and then you spend all the money you have to spend in your business, make sure that there's enough left to pay your bills, right? And the life that you want. If you do not have a system, or you're like, what? I just need more. It never feels like enough. Or you've got a system, but it's like in 5 different places and it's overwhelming. So you never want to look at it and you're interested in checking out my system. I made this a separate thing that I am selling for like a super cheap price. Like the template, which is a Google Sheets template, it's got 3 different tabs to separate these 3 pieces that are so important in clarity around your money and your life and your business overall, like the money pieces that you can customize to your own situation, your own business, the different offers that you have, the different clients that you have. If you want to do any profit planning, what your family needs, if you're looking to give yourself a raise, if you're looking for like a super abundant life versus if you're at a place where you're just looking to pay the freaking bills. Like it is all here and customizable in this template. And a video training that I recorded that is like it wasn't recorded as a masterclass, but it is like a masterclass in and of itself. It not only walks you through how to use each of these tabs and not just like, here, fill in this cell like this. Like, it's like, here's the system that I created that I'm using. And then my clients love this. This is how you actually use it. And this is why this piece, this tab, and this is to get more peace and clarity and groundedness and permission. This is how you use this other tab to think in one place when you need to be looking to sell another spot versus when you can chill, when you need to be having re-sign conversations with your clients, when you need to follow up with people, ways to avoid money leaking in your business where maybe you forgot to invoice somebody or they haven't paid and you didn't notice because you're so fucking busy or whatever. And then the other one, the CEO pay tab, where like you're really getting super clear on what is your enough, what you actually need to pay yourself from your business, and with up levels available. And it all ties together so you can see what to expect over the rest of the year, over this next season. And then we can really make a specific plan. So all of that is for just $47 in the US dollars, 47 US dollars. And I even, because I have had clients that travel the world or are in other parts of the world, I've even made a version in Great British Pounds and a version in Euros. It's all the same math, but that way you don't have to do the steps to customize it. So it's all the same. You just click the button if you want one with a different currency. So if you're here doing this together, or if you have the Momentum app and you're interested in setting this up and getting some clarity, because right now, if you're like, fuck, I do not want to look at this, I don't even know what to do, give me some help, go check out my CEO Cash Clarity Companion. You can head over there at both and Motherhood, all one word, .com/cash clarity, all one word there, no spaces or anything. And it'll take you to the page where you can check it out and you can buy it. And it's $47, but it'll say, and remind you at the top, if you have the Momentum app, or if you've already downloaded, or if you haven't done it yet and you're going to go download it now, there's a code here on this page, on page 6, that will give you $20 off, which makes it only $27. Like, it's a fucking steal, but it felt really fun and aligned. So all that to say, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I want to pull all this together so I can see in this season with, oh my God, my boys are eating like it's no joke that teenage boys eat so much. And my kids are not even full on teenagers yet. But what I need my business to pay me in this season. And then we're going to move forward. All right, so let's talk about this next step. If you're watching the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel at both in Motherhood or on my website, you'll see that I am wearing a different outfit right now because I actually paused to stop to do that last part, had to hop on a client call, and then had to go pick up my kids. Just modeling that, like, you can come back to this when you need to. Our businesses and ourselves, like, we don't live in a vacuum, right? So I'm actually coming to this 2 days later, I think, but we're going to put it all together. And then the magic of editing, this will roll right through. So I'm actually glad that it happened that way because I ended up having a change in some of my anticipated revenue coming forward from a client that needed to take a break for some family stuff. And so I just needed to shift that around. So that was all perfect. And even though when it comes to money pieces and looking at your numbers in your business or your personal finances, I know that it's very normal if you get triggered by this, if you start to freeze a little bit, if you start to avoid it and don't want to do it, or just are fast forwarding through this section or listening and you're like, I don't want to look, I can kind of know what I'm doing. I think I know what I've got going on. Like, it's okay. It's fine. Or I don't really need the money really right now. Like, it's fine. But if you have been one of those women who have been finding yourself, like many women, especially women business owners, have been feeling like you are doing everything right in your business, quote unquote, right? And you still don't feel like it's enough. You know that you have clients coming in, you've got money coming in, but it still never feels like enough, or it never feels safe. Or you're just kind of like doing busy work a lot in your business because you don't really, but don't feel like you're really going anywhere. What I found, not only in my own life and business, but in that of my clients and even my friends, is that data, looking at the data or data, if you want to say it that way. That's how my kids say it. Let me know, by the way, how do you say, like, put it, if you're on YouTube, put it in the comments. If you are on the podcast, hop over to Instagram and let me know. Do you say data or data? Anyway, I'm going to say data. So it actually is grounding. Even if it's not what we want to see yet, like having it on paper takes some of the charge out of it, or on the computer, right? Especially around money, honestly. It gives us something that we can be concrete and just know, okay, we actually are doing better than we thought. Or, okay, this is exactly how much more we need. And this is then what we need to get there. And then we know, okay, cool. Now we're doing enough, right? So I took a look at my own CEO Cash Clarity Companion and my own I updated the CEO Pay tab there to like figure out what my family needs in this season, how much we're actually spending on different things. And since I am a solo mother, I am the only income earner in my family. So that's all on me. Obviously, that's going to look a little bit different depending on your situation. But then we also look at, okay, if that's like what you need to pay yourself, or if you're already there, what do you want to be paying yourself? Like, not what you think you should, not what somebody on the internet says is good or whatever. If you hear the numbers 5K, 10K come out of your mouth, I actually want you to question it. Here's the next question that actually will help you determine if this is an intrinsic desire. Like, is it $5,000 or $10,000 a month is actually what will get you to that next, like your roots level, what I call it, or your rise level, if that's your next level? Or is that a number that you've heard or seen somewhere on the internet that just makes you feel like you're successful or like you've done enough? I see that a lot. So if it's a specific number like that, especially 5 or 10, I want you to just question it. And one way you can get more clear on that, and this is in the momentum map too, is when you figure out, okay, this, whatever you decide of like how much your family needs from your business, we always ask like, okay, how quickly do you and your family need your business to make this money? For some of you, it might be like ASAP because you're supporting your family with your business. For some of you, it might be like, I can give myself some time because, I've got other things going on and I've got another job or a partner that is supporting us financially right now or whatever. And just be honest with yourself again. And then look at how much money on average per month over the next season you're going to be bringing in from your business and being able to pay yourself. This is another spot. If whatever system you're using does not make it easy to see that number, you really need my CEO Cash Clarity Companion. So click the link in the show notes because you're going to love it. It makes it so, so easy. Like it does all the math for you and it's right there in its own column. I explain exactly how to use it, how to switch it to go from your roots level to when you're ready to like give yourself a raise to your rise or even your radiance level, which is what I call like an even higher raise. But either way, we want to get clear. So I got clear on like, okay. And for this season, for me, I actually do have a difference depending on the month because I have some clients taking pauses and some clients coming back and different things between $1,000 and $2,000 a month to hit my roots level. And so now I can work backwards too and think about, okay, how many clients is that? That's 1 to 2 clients, right? Private coaching clients or a variety of other things. And so one of my favorite questions in this part of the momentum map is the money, like that extra money that you're wanting to make from your business, or you can look at it as like the whole CEO pay that you want to make from your business. What do you want that money to do for yourself and your family? This is where it differentiates from just making $5,000 months or $10,000 months because that'll make me feel like I'm a real entrepreneur. I've heard these things from several women. That'll mean I finally made it. That'll mean I'm doing enough. That'll mean I can really say, hey, my business is doing this and I'll feel like I actually have a business. None of that will actually make you feel that way. I've also seen this to happen. What will make you feel better is getting clear on like, what do you want that money to do for yourself and your family? And then doing it. So for me, that money will give me more flexibility as a single parent to be able to take my kids to the beach this summer or take them bowling regularly or go, which I really suck at, by the way, or, get a membership at our zoo again, or go out and spend some more time and money with friends, hanging out with friends, buy myself some nice things to like go on dates with and different things like that. Give myself the flexibility to order more takeout when it feels fun or take my kids out to a restaurant when it feels fun. There's no right or wrong here. For you, that might be paying for vacation, paying for camps for your kids, paying for your nails to get done regularly, paying for an improvement on your house, paying for a new car, paying for a vacation. If I didn't already say that, I don't remember. I found that when you have a clear goal of what you want to do with that money, it is a lot easier and more motivating to then go out and take the actions to sell things and to make that money because you're like, oh, this is actually going to help me live the life that I want to live. Okay. So next up, we're going to do a little more reflecting. This is on to pages 8, 9, and 10 if you are following along in your own Rooted in Thriving Momentum map. And before I make a plan for a new season, I always like to reflect on the past one. Now, I want to remind you, again, for me, in my world, a season can be anything that it means to you. This can mean a literal season. Like for me, it's summer, but it's like summer break, really. Like from now, the beginning of June to the beginning of September. That's the next season for me and my family. That might be a quarter. If you like to go by quarters in Q1, Q2, Q3, whatever, we are finishing Q2 at the end of this month. So maybe this is going into looking at Q3 if that's how you like to work things. It might be just a month for you if something different is going on in your life. So whatever that looks like for you. And then the last season can be the same amount of time or it can be different. For me, it was really the last 6 months because we were pretty sick for a little bit. And so I didn't redo this part. And it was kind of like since Christmas, essentially. Yeah, the last 6 months since Christmas break. So if you're following along, go ahead and hit pause here. You can fill out and reflect on pages 8, 9, and 10, and then come on back. If you are just doing this in your journal and you want to take a pause to do that as well, let me just kind of tell you a couple things to think about. Just kind of reflect on overall, like how you felt in the last season, both in your business and outside of your business. What went well, like what worked well, and what felt good in your business, and what didn't feel good in your business, and what you would like to work better in your business the next season? Okay. So if you pause and you're coming back, I'm going to just share a little bit about what I came up with for mine. So I actually kind of ended up reflecting on both and, right? My business and my personal life and the balance, because that's real life, right? So what came through for me with what felt good in my business was, especially since my family started our new parenting plan this spring, where I think it's a month ago, really, where the kids are with their dad for 48 hours at the end of the week. That's been feeling really good for me because our routine has gotten better, and I've been really enjoying how I've been using those 2 days. There was time when it was all split the last 6 months. That was rougher, but I've been using those 2 days. I take care of myself and I go hang out with friends and make new friends, and I get really focused work done. Like today is one of those days. This is why I came back to it today. It's a Saturday now. And the boys are with their dad. So I can really dive in and do some creative work. And that felt really fun. When I was reflecting, I was noticing that one of the things that didn't feel good in my business in the last 6 months for me, that's the last season for me, right? Was that what came through for me was that even though I do this for a living and I'm really fucking good at it with my clients, seeing the holes, seeing the strengths, helping people come up with a plan and a super streamlined like client journey and sales journey and all the things, I felt like mine was kind of actually all over the place. And then so I'd felt like, I don't know, I didn't know what to talk about because I didn't really have a goal in mind or whatever and all the things. And actually during the last season also, I did do something about that. And I did my own work on making a client journey that goes all the way from, in the marketing world, they call it cold audience, right? So that's somebody who's never heard from me or seen of me before, or is maybe like lukewarm. Like if this is your first time ever hearing or seeing from me, that's great. Then, you have a soft way to engage with me and my work, and on the way up into warmer and people that are like my people, right? And this is how any client journey goes. It's a little different for each business and for each person, and depending on the offer and things like that. But it's always going to be smoothest and easiest if you have a natural, some people call it a funnel. I don't love that word personally. Sometimes I'll use it just because that's the word that it does mean the thing, right? Like more people are at the top, like the colder people, and then the warmer people that are more your people, like they're going down the middle, and like the warmest people are the people that are really your people for your offer are in the bottom. I just don't like the image of the funnel. So I call it a client journey, but you can call it what you want. And what felt good was the Rooted and Thriving Momentum app, making that like proper into a lead magnet and making it, well, hiring somebody that was better at Canva than me to make it really pretty and putting that together and really packaging up thoughtfully my CEO Cash Clarity Companion and recording the video that went with it. That felt really good and really fun for me. And I feel really much more solid this season, going into this season, with a plan and things to direct people to, because I know that working with a coach is a highly intimate thing, and it is a big deal to trust somebody, to trust a coach. And having a softer path to be a part of my world just makes sense. That's how I would do it if I was on the other side, right? So, and it helps focus my thoughts so that I can more confidently show up and share things with you guys and teach and coach, because that's what I do. And that's what I love. And then for my own reflections, I actually really loved the balance that I've been doing over the last several weeks, where I'm getting a lot of solid work done, especially on these 2 days. I'm doing some work when the kids are in school, but being really present for them and with them and available for them after school, and taking time to go meet new friends and go hang out and do things that I want just for me when I don't have the kids with me. That's been feeling really good. I also did some reflecting on like how confident I feel in my work and my role as a CEO. And I'm gonna be completely vulnerable with you. I feel extremely confident in my work, like a 5 out of 5. I feel less confident talking about my work. maybe 3 out of 5. And really, I feel like a 4 to 5 out of 5 confident in my role as a CEO. This is not my first business. I have grown and scaled a business before. I have hired, let go of, improved, hired different ones, like delegated to team, many team members, different roles. I've done a lot and I'm really good at it. So I'm gonna own that. And overall, so I'm gonna raise my hand here, right? I struggle with anxiety. It's gotten a lot better, but overall, I felt really pretty grounded and balanced in the overall both and of my life as an entrepreneur and a mother and a healing woman and all of the things. So I know the word balance gets thrown around a lot on the internet, and sometimes it's in a toxic positivity way. Sometimes it's in a really negative way of like, there's no such thing as balance. And I don't know where you land on that spectrum, but if you're curious where I land on that spectrum, I do believe in an overall sense of balance. And to me, that feels like just overall pretty good in the multiple both ands of my life, right? If you want to go deeper into that, I share more on my philosophy around balance in episode 12, so I'll link that in the show notes. But if balance is not the word of your choice, if that's not your jam, use what word you want. Okay, now we finished with the reflect step. I know there's a lot in there that I shared and I invited you to reflect on. And I have just found that it is so important to spend some time reflecting on what is in front of you, on what has been behind you, and what you want in front of you. And then the next step I call refine. We're going to refine the plan, what we are wanting to create and how we're going to create it. Because I have found in 8 years of being an entrepreneur, in 5 years of being a coach, 2 years in this business, 3 I coached alongside my podcast work in my first business, that trying to jump right to strategy, like right to a plan, it misses all the nuance that makes you and your family, you and your business, your business. And that's where we end up feeling like we're sticking a square peg in a round hole, right? Where we feel like we're doing all the things, but it doesn't feel any better because we're just trying to jump to somebody else's strategy and we haven't actually made it for us. And then we're not having to say, okay, so-and-so said to do this and this and this and this action steps, and that's going to get me to 5K months. Like you might have noticed by now how I feel about those kind of statements. In this, we're just going to refine. We're going to look at, because probably what you've been doing, there's parts of it that are working or at least feeling good. Maybe they just need tweaked. Maybe you likely don't need to scrap everything and start over. That would be incredibly rare. If you are brand new to this, still, you probably have some things that you've learned or that you're practicing, even if it's just talking to people, getting in front of people, connecting with people. There's likely some things that you're already doing that are working or feeling good. And if not, that's information too, right? So this is going to be, if you're following along with me in the Momentum Map PDF, this is going to be pages 11 through 14, really to finish out the Momentum Map. So if you're following along, you can go ahead and pause this recording and fill out your pages either on, if you printed it out like I did and are writing on it, or if you are filling this out on your computer on the fillable PDF version, you can do that. If you are doing this along in your journal, I will give you a couple things to think about. If you want all the prompts, make sure you download the Momentum Map PDF at the link in the show notes. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to share things that came up in my own refined step for the summer break in my family. Okay, so overall goal, I want you to look back at what came up for the reflect step, specifically where you wanted to go and what you have in front of you. And I want you to think about what is one realistic goal for your business this season. Now, I want to invite you to pause if you catch yourself here going, I want to sign 5 clients. I want to have 100 people on my email list. I want to make $5,000. That might be fine, but I would look at your data and including what is going on in your family and your life in this season. Do you actually have the capacity to do that? Is that realistic? Or is that setting yourself up to feel like you're behind? Because are those actually maybe somebody else's goals, or is there underneath there a belief that like that's what has to happen to be real or enough, right? So just pause and reflect on that. It is okay to have a small goal for any season, for all seasons. If this is a real tough season for you, especially if you're going into summer, if there's family stuff going on, if summer vacation for you means that you have very little work time because of your family dynamics, or I've had friends going through really like heavy family stuff when I was going through a season right after my divorce and dealing with a lot of shit. I've had clients recently that went back to school alongside their business because they're multi-passionate people and they were getting their feet wet in that part of their life. It is also okay for your goal for this season, if it applies to you, to just maintain what you've got going on in your business. We don't have to be growing every single season, every single day, every single month in our business. Like, we just don't have to. This is a long-term game, right? So I want to normalize that. There are seasons in most of our lives when just maintaining the client level or the client number or the revenue number or whatever in our business is a huge win, because our capacity is a lot less than it usually is. And that is totally okay. That doesn't mean that next season you can't have a growth phase or whatever, or in 3 seasons or whatever. Like, it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. Another one where this was like this for me is, how many years ago was this now? 6, 7 years ago, when I was married, and my now ex-husband and I were both working in the business and the kids were little, and we decided to homeschool. We sold everything we owned, and you might know this about me. We sold almost everything we owned, and we bought and moved into an RV, and we worked from the road, homeschooled from the road, traveled the country, the US. Happened to be really fortuitous timing because the pandemic hit like 3 months after that. But during that first several months, my goal was like just to maintain what was going on in my business, because we were still figuring out how to balance the homeschool, how to freaking drive and live in an RV, how to plan where we were going to go, how to balance the work part with the travel part, and all of that. So I'm really glad that I did. Okay, moving on. I want you to get clear. Specifically, this is really important. If what came up for you as a goal is a money goal, I want you to get specific. How are you going to get there? Like, how many clients is that? What offers are you selling? What offer? Like, say you need to make $1,000 more a month. Is that 1 client? Is that 2 clients? Is that 5 course sales? Is that, what does that look like? That will help you figure out what you're actually going to be focusing on selling, right? Okay. This one is so important. I don't know why I'm just saying that. I'm just in a weird mood. I'm in a silly mood. Before you make a plan of how to get there, I want you to first think, this kind of is in the reflect step also, but I have it in the refine section because it's really important right here. So, knowing you and your family as deeply as you do, what are your non-negotiables for this season that you need to consider when making your momentum map for this season? And then if you're following along in your journal and you don't have all the prompts, just a couple to hit on. There are even more deeper ones in the full PDF, but if you don't have that yet, a couple things to think about are, what can you do more of that worked well and felt good from last season? What can you let go of that didn't feel good or didn't work really well last season? Well, I would invite you to think about, do you know it didn't work really well, or how do you know it didn't work really well? Do you have data, or is that just because it didn't feel like it did? So that's a whole nother conversation. And then pick 1 to 3 priority focuses, or foci, I think is the plural for focus, maybe, for your business for this season to work towards the goal or goals that you came up with. Start there if you're working from your journal. If you want even more in-depth prompts to help you really come up with your own momentum map, make sure you download the PDF from the show notes, or grab it if you've already got this. If you're doing this along with me, go ahead and hit pause, work on refining your plan, and then come back and let's talk about it. Okay. So for mine, one of the things that came up for me is I would really love And I have the space to bring in 2 new one-on-one clients. I love one-on-one work. It is my all-time favorite work to do ever. It lights me up and I love it. But I thought, okay, it's summer. I do have less capacity for work because the kids are home. So I think I'm just going to feel like I'm going to aim for one new client this summer and then one more new client this fall. Because many of my clients stick around once they come. I just re-signed another client for another 6 months this week. And I've got another client. We're going on almost 2 years. So your business might be a little different. Your business might be more project-based. This is why we do this in a custom way, right? My non-negotiables that I came up with were making a time for yoga before I work. That has been feeling really good this week, doing some yoga before I work, and at least a short walk daily. Some of that might be like taking my kids to the zoo. We walk for a long time when we go to the zoo, right? Maybe it's just walking around the neighborhood. Maybe it's doing Pokemon Go, but like moving my body, non-negotiable for me this summer. And then always, 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 this is just my personal one, being emotionally and mentally available for my kids. If you identify as a cycle breaking mom, which you very well might if you're here, this might be on your non-negotiable list too. If it's not, that's okay. You'll have your own. Something else that came up for me was this season, I know, is my visibility season. This is a growth edge for me, for my own self. Like I said before, for me, just sharing with vulnerability in case you resonate with this, I feel extremely confident in my abilities and my work and my ability to run a business. Talking about my work, especially as a coach, is stretchy for me sometimes. And I do it, but I want to stretch even further. And I want to get in front of more people, and because I want to impact more people. And a lot of us, me included, have these sticky old stories and protectors and wound stories going on around like a lot, that maybe it's not safe to be seen or to be super vulnerable, and a growth edge is often stretching into those, right? So this is mine. And one way I want to do that is I want to prioritize a plan and time to do more of these for you. I want to be emailing my email list more. I want to grow my email list. So shameless plug, if you haven't downloaded the Rooted and Thriving Momentum app, do it. It's free. And if you know anybody that could benefit, share the link with them, please. I would love it. And I want to be talking to more people on their podcasts too. And I want to be bringing some guests on this podcast for you. I already have a list of some phenomenal women that I think you guys would benefit hearing from that I want to reach out to. But if you have anything specific that you want to hear, especially over this summer, you want to hear me talk about, you want to have me bring a story on about, I would love, love, love it if you would shoot me a message. On Instagram, I'm at bothandmotherhood, and in my email, you can email me at hello@bothandmotherhood.com. And so for myself, my priority focuses are to like really take the time to sit down and make a schedule for what I want to talk about, what I want to share with you guys for the podcast and my email list. I'm all for repurposing for the next 3 months, because I know myself and my brain, and part that overwhelms me is figuring out what I'm going to talk about. So if I already know that, it's a lot easier for me to stick with it. And that's just what I've learned about myself. Everybody's different. And then I must be making an effort to research podcasts I want to be on and guests I might want to have, and reach out to them and talk to them. And I have already been practicing some of this stuff with reaching out to and making new friends here. And that's that. I love this process because I feel more grounded. I feel like I have a clear direction for this next season. I feel like I also have clear markers of when I am getting closer to or hitting my goals, what I need to do to get there so that I can celebrate along the way. Which, by the way, that is one question that I ask myself. How am I going to celebrate as I'm going through this journey? How am I going to celebrate when I hit my goals? And one of the things I came up with is I'm going to turn on a song and take a break and take a dance break and do a little dance party for every new person that joins my email list over the summer. And I already do celebrate when I sign new clients, because that's just amazing. I celebrate, and then I celebrate them as well. So I thought about that. If you've been following along with me and planned out your own next season's momentum map, I hope that you found this helpful and supportive. I would love to hear it. If anything really stood out for you, if you had any aha moments, any breakthrough moments, anything that felt really good, or also here for anything that felt confusing or that you need further help with, reach out to me. Let me know. Hey, before you go, I want to thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. It genuinely means a lot. And before you leave, if you're a bloopers fan like I am, make sure you stick around for another couple of minutes, my friend, because there are some bloopers coming up right after this. But before we get into those, if this episode resonated with you, one powerful and simple thing you can do to support me and my work is to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. That way you never miss an episode, and it helps more cycle breaking mamas find their way here. And I would love, love, love to hear from you. Every comment, DM, and review means the world to me, and it helps keep me motivated to keep recording and releasing episodes for you guys. So let me know what landed for you in this episode. What questions do you have? What do you want to hear more of? Leave me a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or come find me on Instagram at @both_and_motherhood and let me know. I read every single one, and it seriously makes my heart smile so much every time I see one. That's it for this episode, my friend, and I cannot wait to talk to you next time. Okay, cue the inevitable bloopers. I hope they make you laugh as much as they do me. If you're here and you're also a parent, you know that as soon as you start recording the podcast, a big old truck comes and makes a noise. Hey, before you go, oh, don't hit my desk. I have no idea what I was talking about. This one is so important. I don't know why I just sang that. I'm just in a weird mood. I'm in a silly mood.